Okay. The next chapter is all kinds of people. All right. Ready? Little while after I laid down, the rest of the girls came in, making more noise than a pack of jaybirds in a china ball tree. But when the white man came in the room, everything got quiet. All right, knees, he said. Everybody knelt down beside their pallet. I was the only one still laying there. That go for you too, he said. After I knelt down, he said prayers. Then he blowed out the lamp and went to the other room. All right, knees, I could hear him saying. Then a little bit later, you with them rocks, that go for you too. He prayed over them, then he blowed out the lamp and went back downstairs. I was sleepy, but I felt too good to go to sleep. I just wanted to lay there and feel how good freedom was. I kept thinking to myself, so this is freedom. This is freedom. Well, if this is all I got to do, I don't mind putting up with bathing a few more days. While I was laying there thinking how quiet and peaceful everything was, somebody round the other side started hollering. I thought it was Ned, and I jumped up and made it to the door. The white man got to the door at the same time I did and went in and lit the lamp. It wasn't Ned. It was the boy on the pallet next to Ned. Ned was laying on his pallet with his flint and iron in his hands. What happened? The white man asked the boy, crying. The boy was crying so much to answer. Too much to answer. He didn't even try to answer. Ned was still laying there with the iron and flint. The rest of the children was sitting up looking. What happened? The white man asked the boy again. Don't you have a tongue? The boy had his mouth wide open, but nothing coming out. Then it all came out. What happened? The white man asked Ned. Ned just laid there with the flint and iron. You, what happened? The white man asked another boy. The boy said, well, Claiborne there asked that little boy over there for one of them rocks, and that little boy over there said no, and Claiborne there said if the little boy didn't give him one of them rocks, Claiborne there was going to take it. Claiborne there reached and tried to get the rock out of that little boy there's hand, and that's when the little boy over there conked Claiborne on the forehead. That's how come Claiborne got a knot coming on his forehead right now, like a big bump. You got to get rid of them rocks, the white man told Ned. Ned didn't answer him, just laying there with that flint and iron in his hands. You hear me? The white man said. He don't have to get rid of nothing, I said, from the door. He done brought them this far, and we tend to keep on taking them. They for his mama. Sekish killed his mama, and he can keep them if he want. You acting like you his mama, the white man said. I can't be his mama, 'cause I ain't no more than 11 or 12, I said. But I ain't going to let nobody mistreat him neither. Any more hitting with them rocks, I'm going to take them from you myself, the white man told Ned. Tell that little old Claiborne boy go find his own rocks, and Ned won't need to hit him, I said. And you, Claiborne, you leave him alone, the white man said. He blowed out the lamp and came to the door where I was. And you, Miss Smarty, you better watch your tongue, he said, and get back to the other room. When I walked away, I heard him saying, they told me not to leave. They told me not to come south. No, I wanted to be a friend to man. Now they running me crazy. I went back to my pallet, but I didn't go to sleep right away. I listened to see if they was going to try to do Ned something round there, but nothing happened. The next morning, the children woke me up with their noises. We put on our clothes and went downstairs to eat. Sarah made us wash our faces and hands first. See, they're even doing coronavirus protection there. The first girls washed in the tub, the boys washed in another tub. Then Sarah gave us our food, kush kush and milk. So kush kush is kind of like oatmeal, cream of wheat. That's all it is. We wasn't through eating before I heard a bell ringing somewhere. I asked another girl what it was for. She said the big children had to go to work and the little children had to learn ABC. In the evening, the big children had to learn ABC and numbers. They had to learn them too, or they couldn't go out and play. I had been thinking I might stay there a couple of days, but now everything had changed. ABC and numbers wasn't something I was ready to start on yet. And Lord knows I'd heard enough bells in them 11 or 12 years. I told Ned to have his flint and iron together by the time I went upstairs and got the bundle. The white man caught me coming out of the room and asked where I thought I was going. Ohio, I said. Oh, what? He said. He followed me downstairs, just fussing. But soon as he saw Ned with that flint and iron, he remembered Claiborne and left me alone. Him, Sarah, and all the children stood on the gallery's a porch, and watched us leave. They thought we was going a little piece and we was going to turn around and come back. We headed for the river. Now, in daytime, I could see this was a little town where we had spent the night. They had some fighting here between the Yankees and the Seckish. I could see how some of the houses had caught fire. The place where me and Ned had stayed that night was a big white house, probably been owned by some rich white folks. When the Yankees came in, they took it over and made it a home for colored children. So many of the children didn't have nowhere to go, didn't have nobody to look after them. Halfway the river, now look what I see. Two in Yankee uniforms. I hadn't seen any colored soldiers before then, and I thought these two was just clowning around. Y'all real? I asked. What do you want? One of them said. Y'all know a soldier called Mr. Brown? I asked. You mean the colonel, don't you? He said. But I don't know where he would have known you. You pretty young, ain't you? Old enough to know I don't care to know you, I said. Don't worry, he said. He from Ohio? I asked. He can be, that said. When we play poker at night, we talk about stakes. We don't talk about states. He slapped the other soldier on the back and laughed. You don't look like you talk too good about nothing, I said. I want to see Mr. Brown. Do you, huh? He said. Well, see that building over there? Go in there, tell the white soldier you want to talk to the colonel. If he say the colonel talking to General Grant, tell him that's too bad. Tell Grant to wait. Me and Ned started toward the house, and they started laughing. When I looked back, they was laughing so hard they had to hold on to each other to keep from falling down. Not all colored is niggers, but them niggers back there, I told Ned, Yankee uniform or no Yankee uniform, they nothing but common niggers. There's a reason why I'm saying it here, because she is going to give a description, and the way blacks use that term is a lot different than the way you guys use it. And so let's read on and find out. Time I came in the house, the soldier said, down the road, ask one of them colored soldiers out there to point the way. I know that way already, I said. I'm headed from there. I'd like to see Mr. Brown. You mean Colonel Brown, don't you? He said. And may I be so bold as to ask you why? He know me, I said. Get out of here, the soldier said. I took the bundle off my head and dropped it on the floor. The soldier looked at me a second and left the room. He was gone about an hour, and then he came back. Ned was sitting down beside the bundle, but I was still standing there. Y'all still here? He said. I want to see Mr. Brown, I said. The colonel's busy. Come back some other time. We go to Ohio, I said. Stop by on your way back, he said. Colonel ought to be free by then. He started outside, and I headed for that room I saw him come out of. He must have seen me over his shoulder, and he hollered at me to stop, but I had already opened the door. Now, I was sorry I had wasted all that time. All I saw in the room was an old man with white hair and white whiskers, sitting behind a table full of papers. Yes, Private, he said, raising his head. Then he saw me, and he almost jumped out of his chair. What in the world? Who sent you here? He asked. The other soldier came in and said, I'll get her out of here, Colonel. Get her out of here, you. Get out of here, you, he said to me. No, let her speak. I thought you was Mr. Brown, I said. I'm Colonel Brown, he said. You ain't the right one, I said. The other one was young, and he was running Seckish. He give me my name. Where you from, child? The colonel asked. Master Bryan Plantation, I said. The colonel turned round from his chair and looked at a big map on the wall. All the time he was looking at the map, he was going, I pulled the door quietly and went out. I picked up my bundle and told Ned, come on. When we came up to the river, we turned toward the sun. We was going so far this way, then we was going to turn north again. If I had known anything about traveling, we could have headed north from where we had spent the night. But being a young and ignorant, I thought I had to start back where I'd come from the day before. Soon as we lost sight of town, we took to the bushes. You couldn't ever tell who you was going to meet along the road, and we was too far from town to holler for help. We walked, we walked, we walked. The Yankee and Seckish had battled here too. You could see how the Yankees had burned everything in sight. The ground was still black. The trees looked like black posts, no leaves, no moss, no limbs. When the sun got straight up in the sky, we found a shady place in a ditch and sat down. I was so tired. I felt like sitting there all day, but I know I had to keep going. Once I stopped moving, that was going to be the end for me and Ned. I looked at him sitting there, and I asked him if he was all right. He nodded his head. Well, let's go some more, I said. Late that evening, I spotted a house setting across the field. It wasn't in the direction we was going. It was in the west, but I wanted to know if we was headed right. We started for the house. Even before I reached the yard, I could see poor white trash lived there. A little garden inside the house, an old dress on the clothesline, a little scrawny woodpile in the backyard. A dog tied with a chain started barking at us when we came up to the gate. A woman in overalls looked out the door. She was poor and skinny, and she looked mean as she was poor. Can you tell me if this is the way to Ohio? I asked her. She looked at me but didn't say a thing. Please, ma'am, I said. You don't get away from my gate. I'm going to let that dog point the way to Ohio, she said. Get away from my gate. I just want to know if I'm headed right, I said. I don't know nothing about no Ohio, she said. And if you don't move from there, like I done already told you, I'm going to turn that dog loose. We leaving, I said. Can you tell me if y'all got a spring around here? Me and this boy awful thirsty. You don't see no spring, do you? She said. No, ma'am. I didn't say another word. She just stood in the door looking at us. I told Ned, come on. She didn't say a thing till we got to the end of the fence. Then she told us to stop. When I looked back toward the house, I couldn't see her. But a few minutes later, I saw her coming back with a cup of water. We met her at the gate. When I reached for the cup, she pulled it back. You think I'm going to let you put your little black mouth on this cup, she said. Hold out your hands. I cupped my hands together. The water was warm. I reckon she had got it out of a bucket or a tub sitting in the sun. Ned didn't know how to hold his hands together, so I had to cup my hands again so he could drink. Long as we was standing there, the woman was fussing at us. Don't think I love niggers just because I'm giving y'all water, she was saying. I hate y'all. Hate y'all with all my heart. Doing it because I'm a God-fearing Christian. I hating with all my heart. Y'all cause of all the trouble, all this ravishing, yanking soldiers all over the place stealing my hogs and chickens. Y'all cause of it all. I hope the good white people around here kill y'all off. Hope they kill y'all before the night's over. I'm going to tell them which way you went. I'm going to tell them to go and kill you. Now get away from here. Get away from here before I kill y'all myself. If I wasn't a God-fearing Christian, I'd kill y'all myself. I thanked her for the water and told Ned, come on. We went east till sundown. Then we swung back north. So there's a lot in here. One thing in all kinds of people is on page 39 when Jane says, and the Lord knows I'd heard enough bells in them 11 or 12 years. I told Ned to have his flint and iron together by the time I went upstairs and got the bundle. So the reason why she says it is because she spent her whole life with bells. A bell to wake up, a bell to eat, a bell to do work, a bell to stop work. And she's just kind of feeling like, I'm free now and I shouldn't have to listen to bells. And so that's sort of her point. And that's why she decides to leave that plantation, because she already heard enough bells in her life. And then the God-fearing Christian woman. So there's lots of irony in this. So we're on page 43. And she goes on and on. You know, she's giving them water because there are no stores. And so it's not like you can go get bottled water in this time period. And so you had to rely on rainwater. And where she's walking with Ned, they don't have a place to have water. She doesn't have like a canteen because, well, a canteen's a little round thing they put water in. Because when she left the plantation, she didn't get anything like that. So she just kindly asked this woman for water. And as human beings, water is one of the most important things we need. But yet this woman, she hates the blacks because she equates the Confederates losing the war to the freeing of slaves. And her husband and I think it's her son, somehow we're led to believe that she had family that was killed by Union soldiers. So that's why she hates everybody, really. And she's just a mean, bitter old woman because now she's a widow. So she does make a kind gesture to Jane, and maybe if in the Christian faith maybe if our works got us to heaven, maybe she thinks that like she was doing the right thing, but she was very mean to Jane and she was mean to Ned. But that's what the Confederates were like. They were very bitter after they lost the war. So that also gives us an example of the kind of people that Jane will come up against in her lifetime. So there's lots of things you can journal about in here. You can journal about bells and maybe how Jane feels. You guys kind of like bells, right? Like, because at 2:30 when the bell rings, it's time to go home. Or at 10:48 when the bell rings, it's time for lunch. And so those are fun bells, right? Even when my alarm goes off in the morning, I really look forward to seeing you guys. I enjoy it. And I look forward to getting up in the morning. So I don't think we hate bells as much as Jane does. So you could journal about that. You can also journal about the woman, and you could think about your own life now, not look at your life with people, as in like, all white people or all black people or all Hispanic people, but to think about maybe if you have a faith, right? And what does your faith tell you to do? Does it tell you to be mean to people? So you could write about that. You could write about just whether or not you agree with this woman. Me personally, I don't think I could ever treat somebody like that. But maybe you've been treated like that and you could journal about that too. So those are two really good things that you could journal about, but journal about anything you want. Our next chapter is The Hunter.